So, Monster Hunter Stories 3 released their beta this Friday, and I wanted to give it a try. Sure, the challenge was there, and so was the experience, but whoa, there was a lot to break down here. This video, I'll be discussing all the major and minor changes I noticed during my first 10 hours of gameplay. I'll leave my thoughts on the positives and negatives and see where improvements can be found. Keep in mind this is a demo, so there will still be a lot of features still in progress or not ready to unveil, so this is all just speculation for what the full release could look like. Hope you enjoy, and grab some Pringles. Be sure to subscribe and leave comments on your thoughts down below. This is my very first ever video, so I want to know where I can further enhance the quality of these videos and the future ones. To begin, let's first look at customization. So let's begin with the character creation menu that everyone starts with. You can customize your hair from the front and the back. You can put 3 tattoos or scars on your face. You can change your nose shape, your eye pupils, your color of the eyes, eyebrows, hair color, fading, a lot of this stuff. And what is cool about this is they also gave your character voice acting. This is very, very nice because it'll give the world more immersion and we can actually know what the character is thinking and is feeling. It makes us actually feel like we're doing something instead of just standing there, nodding yes constantly, and doing nothing. Layered armor changes. So, instead of the previous system of gathering armor and having to purchase it at a shop way later in the game, now, when you craft armor, you immediately unlock it in your storage box as a layered armor change, where you can customize the colors, the set primary and secondary. Also change the outfits of your companions. Now, here's the big question: potential monster armor customization. So, as we see Vermeil, the opposing enemies, they have a lot of monsters that have armor, such as the Rathwolves on the cover, Honed Glavenus, Baroth, a couple others they showed. The question comes from if we can get the same level of customization for our monsters, or if this is just for a story narrative. I am curious, and I am hopeful that they add that, because that will really give us a lot more options to play with beyond the other feature I'll be discussing with dual elements. But this will really, give us more control and nuance between our monster customization. So Exploration added quite a few things. Now, the one I'm most interested in is the dens, because this is very important for later building of genes, right, of channeling, and just for mystery and collecting. So the first thing off is that dens are now visible on your map. You can see the yellow ones for the rares, the blue ones for the super rares, and all the regular ones, as well as the endangered dens. So in the previous games, you could see the ever dens, but you couldn't see regular dens. So it is a lot easier to reset and find these dens. And within these dens, there lies these mutations. There can be barrel cat rooms. There are infinite egg nests. These are very cool because you can collect as many eggs from the nest as you want without aggroing the monster. So you can really pull in the specific thing you're looking for. And then they have a chance to have double nests where you can grab 2 separate eggs. And all these den features can combine and mix. So you can have one with double den and barrel cats, or you can have one with infinite eggs and barrel cats, or you can have one double den and infinite eggs and barrel cats. You can have a combination of all of these. They are rare and it's unlikely. I've seen it a couple of times. Rudy will then tell you, if once you collect an egg, if you've already seen the egg. So if I pulled up this blue and dark blue striped amphibian egg, I don't know what it is. I don't remember. I played this game a month ago. Well, Rudy tells me, oh look, it's a Chotacabra. It's there you go. Now you don't have to pull up a wiki page and look at all the egg patterns. So that is very nice, so you don't have to mistake a Nergigante from a Kushala or a Kirin from an Orochi Kirin, because they look identical. Now, beyond these systems, the big thing here that is the most emphasized, the most noticed thing when you open up the game, it has a more mature tone and theme. So rather than the chibi style they went with 1 and 2, they went for a much more pseudo between chibi and the more mainline Monster Hunter, where they're more detailed, and it'll make it feel a lot more like Monster Hunter. Now, another thing they added is movement. So the movement, they added sprinting, which makes moving around quicker. They added a lot of, like, little features. They added jumping, the wall climbing with, like, Toby Kadachi's a lot more fluent with places. You can even, when you're flying or sprinting, you can dive off your monster and go catapulting yourself. There's a lot more systems here. Now, there is a little caveat to that. Unlike in 2, the problem was flying. In the third title, I think they improved it, but I still am not entirely sure how to feel about it. So, like, in instances, like, I got stuck and there's this twister to get up, and I was having a lot of difficulty getting on my flying mount and getting up the twister back up, and I kept turning. So there is a little to be desired there, but we'll see. This is just the gliding. When they add the full flying later in the story like they did in 2, we'll see if they change this. But this is something I'm looking forward to seeing how it develops. Mechanics. So, we got new weapon mechanics. So, the major thing we got was the longsword. Now, the big thing that's a question of debate is they replaced the sword and shield for it. You know, more on that later, but this is very interesting, the change they made here. But, on that note, we'll just move that aside for now. Let's move into the refined combat. So they did a lot more fluent movements with combat, so the head-to-heads are a lot more crisp, has a lot more impact frames when you hit them. A lot of the attacks and quality has been increased, and it's a lot more lights going on. Really nice. I like the combat. Feels a lot more surreal to look at versus 2 and 1. And then we're moving on to rideable monsters and riding mechanic changes. So, the main thing here that they did was they split the kinship meter that you needed to fill to ride with the stamina meter that each Monstie gets. You and your Monstie get stamina meters, and the kinship meters reserved only for your kinship attacks. Now, whether they kept the kinship, like, side effects, like Aftermath always knocking down and taking out Fatales, no clue if that's still in, but we'll see. I haven't read through the effects of their kinships. They're most likely still there, because they did give each monster a purpose, like Sambarioth. But they do the same thing. You resist a lot of the AoE attacks. You evade more attacks. It heals your health, to your rider's health to full, and then adds that gained HP on top of your current HP onto your Monstie. All the same stuff here. The main thing I want to emphasize here is the stamina meter. So when you use your skills or make your Monstie use a skill, instead of delaying your kinship skill longer down the road in the battle, now you can just reserve your stamina to these skills. They did, like, change some of the items, like the stamina meat is now, they changed it from HP recovery to stamina recovery, so you can cast more skills more often throughout the battle. This is really cool change. This is probably one of the best things they added for the combat system. This is going to make it a lot better for your allies, so they're less of a detriment because they are, they're something. They were something. Everyone brought Roberto because, you know what, he was himself. You couldn't get AoE'd and lose 2 hearts on your teammate and then be immediately put in a position where you have to bend over backwards to save them. Now, when allies lose all 3 hearts, instead of failing the mission automatically, they're just down for 2 turns. Once you survive those 2 turns, they'll just get back up. So they're just there to support you now. Now, there is a caveat. If they do go down, now you're the only target of the monsters. You're more likely to lose hearts during that process and die. But it is a lot more lenient, especially considering the fact that they improved the AI. They are more intuitive for your party. They actually use, like, their skills. They actually, when they, like, mount up on their kinship, instead of just launching it right away, they actually start trying building it up so it does more damage, so they're more helpful. But on that note, the enemies also have more advanced AI to compensate for the AI not being a detriment. So now, like, I'm gonna put Feral Nursilla up, for example. I couldn't beat this boss. It was crazy. I haven't been able to beat it yet, but essentially what it can do is it uses Feral Gas, puts everyone to sleep that it can, and then it uses Sleep Chaser, which boosts damage out to sleeping targets who already take 2 times damage while they're asleep. and then they target whoever, and if you don't have a trap to stop them, there's nothing you can do because, yeah, they removed the guard. I'm very concerned about this. The partly maybe be the reason they removed Sword Shield, but the gun lance can do it. I am still thinking that there's gonna be like a way to guard in the main game. Maybe they just haven't added it yet, but I'm sure there is a way. But the thing here is the feral Nursilla is smart. It actually attacks you with Sweep Chaser on sleeping targets, and they actually like plan ahead moves, so you will require more brains to be able to overcome these challenges. I've just been getting destroyed because I haven't gotten traps from dens yet, so it's just been a lot of trouble. Really gonna amp up the game in difficulty. Now this could just be level difference. We are capped at level 10 in the demo, so we are limited to our resources here and what tools we can craft because of our capabilities. But when the full game releases, we'll see how this difficulty adjustment changes. Alright, we're gonna move on to the feral monsters that I just mentioned. Feral monsters have crystals on them. There's certain parts you can't hit or else they counterattack. And during specific phases of the fight, they will not counterattack. For instance, the Chotacabra, when it's staggered, will not counterattack, but every other time will attack you. Nursilla will counterattack you even if you have staggered it, because it doesn't attack you when it's enraged, so you have to wait for it to have the red steaming face. This is very like trial and error kind of way. You just have to hit it, test it, get hit, and get demolished. I think this is kind of convoluted. We'll see how they handle it later. Again, this is just level based. But moving on. In another boss monster they added were invasive monsters. They have a potential to serve as puzzle, and rather than just brute force, do as much damage as possible, bring Roberto with you, do some great sword stuff, you know. This is more like the Volcana trial from the Stories 2 from the Elder Scrolls 5, if you remember the Red's notes and having to do patterns. It's like that, but less specific. You gather tracks in a zone. Rudy gives you hints, and then you have to hit, do what it asks. So for the Yangaruga one, you had to hit its legs to make it retreat and get the endangered species. But this is going... we have only seen one invasive monster so far. They are very strong. I tried finding the invasive monster. I tried finding that Garuga. Yeah, that didn't really go well. I got demolished pretty heavily. So we're going to be moving on to after the invasive monsters, you got this Rathian egg. These are going to be called the endangered species. These aren't ones you get from just running around and going in the dens. These are restricted to these egg courts. We only seen one, but there will be more. And once you release them into this thing called the ecosystem mechanic, they will then become available eggs you can gather in the world. Now, this is a very in-depth scenario, but essentially what you do is you keep collecting Rathian eggs, you raise its tier from C all the way to S, and as you rank it up, you get better genes, they have a chance to mutate, and they can get applied elements. Applied elements are these dual elements. They're very cool. They change the color of your monster between things, and adds an element onto an element. A side note, it's kind of funny, you could stack, like, a fire on a fire. I have a double fire Yankuku, I just think it's kind of ironic. But, we don't know how this is going to affect gameplay. Hopefully, I'm hoping in the future, when the full game comes out, that this is balanced, so that, obviously, like, the strongest, hardest hitting monster can't just, like, apply this element of all types and just be the strongest for every single type, and relegates everything else. So this is going to be interesting how this is going to work. We can't really know. We haven't gotten right channeling either, so we can't tell how the gene system's going to work for dual elements, if they get, like, a boost for that element, if it, like, bingos with other stuff. This is a lot of stuff we don't know, but from all we can see is the color and appearance, and they come with egg moves, which are special skills depending on the element that they received. So moving on, we also have the Melon Shop. You gather items around the place, and you get trade points, gold, silver, bronze, and you can get items and recipes by buying this. I like this a lot more than the bottle cap system they had, because bottle cap systems, like, you had Everdents, and once you drain them all, they're all drained. You had to go online, or those dungeons, those high-end dungeons to get bottle caps. Now I want to move into a bit of the camp system. So when you beat feral monsters, you set up these camps, and you can have Eleanor cook stuff for you. And it is pretty cool because you can get different buffs and effects, and I'm not sure how this works, but when you craft stuff, it does say it boosts your attack, like, for eating this food, and it has a little check mark in the top left on the menu, which makes me think if you eat each food one time, you get a slight, stat increase for eating it. Until you eat all the foods, you get, minor increases to your power. And then, on top of that, the main effects, instead of having the charms and offering prayer, they replaced that with these cooking buffs, like in the main storyline. Even though Eleanor's not as good as a cook as Miyaski or Chef, she still makes buffs that can increase your attack, your defense, XP you can earn in battle, and you can also improve how much items you can gather in the world. So this will really, like, allow us to optimize our farming, and we will see as they add more food recipes how many they're gonna make and what kind of effects we can get, because this can really, like, change gameplay and can enhance it. And then on the final things I want to talk about with the mechanics is the Wyvern Soul Gauge. I talked about this way earlier when I was talking about the hammer. So Wyvern Soul Gauge is confusing. I don't know what to think of it yet. So when you deplete it by hitting the monster X amount of times, they stagger. And when they stagger, they miss a lot more of their hits, so it gives you opportunity to go more aggressive on them. And I don't know how this will interact with knockdowns and breaking parts, because they're, like, two different things that are, like, conflicting, because sometimes you can you can knock them down by breaking their gauge, and other times, like feral monsters, you cannot, and you can only do it by breaking parts. It's very confusing. I think it should be, like, a more harder boundaries on what they are, but I think there is potential for it to, like, open up, but a lot of times it isn't helpful, because a lot of their gauges are so large that it's not going to help you in the long run, because if you're getting hit hard right at the start of the battle, it's not going to help you because it's at the full meter. But on that, the final mechanic I want to talk about is Namiel. Just Namiel. Look at this guy. Look what he did to me. Yeah, this is, yeah, Elder Dragons. As expected, they are basically brutalizing everyone who's trying to fight him. No one can do anything. The only time anyone I've heard off Reddit and stuff that people have actually been able to do stuff is when they poison them with severe poison. Other than that, they just, you can't. He's a 75. You're not beating him. But what the point of these Elder Dragons is when you beat them, they will get you more environmental effects, whatever that means. More genes, maybe more egg powers, applied elements. It could mean a lot of things. And getting the gear. He does drop Namiel hide when you lose to him, so even if you lose, you still get hide. Most people did this 3 times, and that they were able to craft his armor for his all-out XL and stuff that it gives, the passives. But that will wrap up all the mechanics that I'm aware of, that I've noticed. Leave down in the comments anything you have, anything I didn't leave here that you noticed. So the story in this game is I think it has a lot of potential. 2 story I loved so much, but there was a little problems with the story, I think. 1, your main character is a loser. I mean, like, just getting slapped around by Kana on how to do stuff that you probably already know how to do. Like, unlike in this game, your character's actually cool. He's a prince. He's responsible for, training the scouts. He's a strong rider. And he's not, and I think that's really interesting dynamic. It's different than the first 2 games. You're also an adult, so that also adds a lot more maturity into it. So we have Vermeil and Azuria. These are 2 conflicting regions over monsters being treated as tools and one's being treated as partners, and you are conflicting with your father, the king. I don't remember his name. How the heck am I supposed to know? But he wants you to, like, train your Rathalos, and you're like, challenging him on this idea that we shouldn't treat him like this. And I think this sets up a lot better of a narrative standpoint and more interesting of a theme than the power of friendship. Even though your main character does say that line while fighting monsters. It's kind of funny. There is also there's mystery behind the disappearance of Queen Amara and why she did what she did. We could probably get guesses, but I think this is a lot better of a hook than the first game because you're already being thrown into something. And two, your hook was basically like, why did all the Rathalos run away and they go missing? And then the first game was like, why is the Nargacuga blighted? Why are all these guys blighted? And spoiler, it was because of Shigal Magala. But there is a lot of story potential here. I think it has a lot more than the previous two games. How they execute it will really depend, but I think this story narrative is a lot more interesting than the previous ones. And then the final thing is the guild of rangers. I think that showing us all the buddies at the start and you being able to choose them freely, is really nice change because before you were stuck in the story with this character, and that might still be true. But then, like in open roam, you're still stuck with them until you beat the game. Then you could switch with them, and that was like way too late. I think, but now being able to do it from the start is a lot better, so you can adapt your people. And they do also explicitly tell you what they do, which is nice for reference. And this will be really good from a gameplay standpoint and from a narrative standpoint, because then we can go into depth the story behind each of these characters as we go and get to know them better, and we become more attached to them versus them just coming into the story, proving their point, and then exiting the scene. Things we hope to see. I'm hoping the difficulty evens out as the level cap is removed, because right now it is really frustrating towards the end, especially on the feral monsters. Like the Brachydios is like pretty darn hard, like really hard. It's not meant to be defeated right now, it's just there to like prove a point of what the game's gonna be like. But the one I emphasize most is the element changes balance, because a lot of people like weaker monsters, like someone wants to use the Chotacabra. He's obviously not the strongest, but like he can element change and probably serve a purpose, right? Let's hope that like he's a non-elemental, that like they have Bloodbath Diablos, and then you can just change him to all the other elements, and he's just better at all the other elements than Chotacabra in every way. It's probably a big gap of like 6 stars and 7 stars. Like most maybe 7 stars, but there are some 6 stars. Like I used Sergio's Grill in 2. It was great. He is kind of like a dumbed down version of Silverwind Nargacuga, but it was still available. I don't know how this applied element will affect the potency of this balance, but let's hope that they can make it more interesting, but while not throwing balance out the window, and we can use anything we want. Another thing is that I don't want it to be too grindy for genes for Monster Brand channeling, because based off what I played, and like the whole like habitat restoration, having to move monsters around, having 5 max, and you have to replace them and get multiple to build them up in that area to get applied elements to get certain genes. It sounds like a nightmare getting genes. Thankfully, that because of the den modifications, getting infinite eggs, multiple eggs, it'll probably be better to get certain genes that you're looking for, or nurture the ecosystem to best reflect what you need. But it could get annoying pretty quickly depending on what genes are found where. Another thing is, Synchro seems cool, but not sure if it's great or not. Right now, it is like a no-brainer because it does more damage than basically everything, even more than like a double level 3 kinship attack. But in the long term, if you don't do the Synchro, you get a free turn where it's down, so you can use items and stuff. They should make it like a balance between, do you want to do damage, or do you want to get prepared for when he gets back up? Because right now, it's like, you're always going to click it, because you always want more damage to try and take out the monster. Because right now, we don't have a wide variety of items around. We have, like, potion stuff. Some people are finding surrogate gems in places. But you don't have a wide variety right now, so, like, it's a no-brainer. So, with the demo in mind, when the full game releases, this will probably not be a problem, but who knows. The Wyvern gauge. The Wyvern soul gauge is something. I think they need to modify a little bit. But other than that, that is everything we have to cover here. There's a lot to break down. a lot to talk about. Now, moving forward when the full game releases, which is in about a March 15th or something, so about a month and a half, so they got like 8 weeks. So they can take feedback from the community, make adjustments if they want, or if they're already done, they're just polishing things up. We'll just see how it aligns with our values. But I'm getting really pumped for it to come out, because this is a big deal. But this will be a big moment for Monster Hunter fans. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Be sure to leave comments for how I can improve my videos, though. I'd really like to know. See ya.